Good evening to you. I've really been looking forward to this lesson. I look forward every week, but I love the book of Deuteronomy, and I think it has a special message for us. And I didn't used to really think that. I think when I was a new believer, when I was in college, I went and I heard a pastor talk about how the Old Testament, without the Old Testament, the New Testament wouldn't make sense. Okay, so I was a new believer, so I had mainly read Psalms and the New Testament. And so he said that. I wasn't really quite sure what he said. And then he said the book of Deuteronomy is the most important book in the Old Testament. And I was like, Deuteronomy? And he said, Deuteronomy chapter 6 is the most important. And I was surprised by that. But 40 years later, yes, I did go to college 40 years ago. But 40 years later, I think about that. And after studying the Old Testament a lot, it is so important. Because you really get to know God and who he is, and that he's holy and he's righteous and just and loving and merciful and compassionate, and you see all these things about him, and you understand who he is in a different way than you do in the New Testament. Now, New Testament's just as important, but the Old Testament makes it so much richer and fuller. So tonight, I wanted to ask you a couple questions to start. What is it that motivates you to maybe reach out to your neighbor and talk to them, or help someone that you know is going through a hard time? What is it that works within you and makes you do that? How do you perhaps talk to people who you don't know very well? I have a real hard time with this. I have a way easier time withdrawing from things, and it's hard for me, and I feel my heart pumping, and I'm nervous to talk to someone I don't know, and it's hard, but yet I kind of force myself to do that because I feel that it's the right thing for me to do. And when we look at what true compassion is all about, it's not just about helping the people that's easy for us to help. It's about helping people maybe that aren't easy to help. And the definition of compassion is sympathetic pity and concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others. So what does that tell us? That tells us that we are to be concerned for other people, not just our family member or our friend, but concerned for all sorts of people. And tonight we're going to look at Deuteronomy chapter 15. And let's give you a little background on the book of Deuteronomy. The book of Deuteronomy, first of all, it's the fifth book of the Bible, fifth book of the Pentateuch, last book of the Pentateuch, of the book of the writings of the law of Moses. And it's our instruction book in a nutshell. And it describes for us that God's holy and righteous. And it is written to the original recipients of this book, were the second generation of Israel. They were approximately, most of them, 40 to 60 years of age. They'd gone through the wilderness. Some of them had been born in Egypt, most of them. And then there was those that were born and reared in the wilderness, when they're in the wilderness. And they were comprised of the generation that headed to the land of Canaan under Joshua. So that's the, historical setting of what's going on. The book tells us much about the attributes of God, and it's quoted over 40 times in the New Testament. It teaches us how to obey and how to be holy as God is holy. It is our instruction book. It shows you what God believes is true for you to be holy and righteous. And it's not archaic. These things are still true. and they're important. It tells us how to live, and that we'll have blessings if we choose obedience and if we choose to obey him. And so we really must take these words to heart and heed them. And that brings us to today's lesson. How do we tie in Deuteronomy 15 with what we've been learning about all the last few videos about bearing fruit and helping others, and what we're going to be doing next month in our 30-day challenge. And in Deuteronomy chapter 15, it's talking about the sabbatical year in Israel. During that time, every 7th year, if you didn't earn any money from your crops on your property, then your debt was forgiven. And if you weren't able to pay, they would just be canceled. And the attitude of the Israelites toward the poor was very warm and generous. The poor were given what was necessary to meet their needs, even if they were never able to pay back, which is not common in our day and age. This generosity for those in need it can be a great example to us and what we were to think about it. So we're going to look at Deuteronomy 15, verses 7, 8, and 10 and 11. As you can see, I've got them marked because they're just really dear to me. Chapter 7, if there is a poor man with you, one of your brothers, in any of your towns in your land, which the Lord your God is giving you, you shall not harden your heart, nor close your hand from your poor brother. But you shall freely open your hand to him, and shall generously lend him sufficient for his need in whatever he lacks. And then verse 10, you shall generously give to him, and your heart shall not be grieved when you give to him. Because for this thing the Lord your God will bless you in all your work and in all your undertakings. For the poor will never cease to be in the land. Therefore I command you, saying, you shall freely open your hand to your brother, to your needy and poor in your land. Wow. There, it says it right there for us. Oh, look at that again. I mean, you shouldn't be grieved when you give to someone. It shouldn't break your heart to give something to someone who's needy. And there will always be poor in the land. It's not that, there's not ways to help them so there isn't as many poor. It's not bad to have programs to help or ways to give jobs, or those kinds of things aren't wrong, but they just won't go away. I mean, look at Deuteronomy. It was thousands of years ago, and there was poor then, and there's poor now. And people get so irritated when they see some people like, why don't they just help themselves? Why don't they go get a job? Maybe they've tried getting jobs. Maybe they've had jobs. I grew up with a widowed mom who we didn't have any money. And so we were very needy, and we didn't want to ask for help. And a lot of poor people do not want to ask for help. Or you even think about people having to flee their country. Maybe a refugee, or someone who's been persecuted or something, and they have to leave, and they don't get to take their clothes with them, pots and pans from their kitchen, or even things, maybe they're even a doctor and they have to flee. They don't have anything, and they don't have an income. You don't really know someone's story until you kind of get to know them. And it's not for us to really judge them, it's for us to meet needs. And so those verses are really special to me. And you may wonder, well, how can we do this? How can I help? I'm not sure how to go about it. Well, I can understand that, because sometimes I feel prodded to help someone, like maybe the Spirit's like saying, oh, brings this person to mind and a need, and I let it go by and I don't act on it and I forget about it. And then later I realize I should have helped them and it's already been taken care of. Thank goodness for that. But I need to listen to those promptings, and we can pray for needs to come to mind. And as we grow in Christ, and that kind of ties in with what we've been studying, as we grow and mature and bear that fruit, those things are going to come, the Lord will bring them to mind, and he'll bring those people to mind. I was at a ladies' retreat several years ago where the person was saying that there was a grumpy old guy that was down the street and he didn't talk to any of the neighbors. And so she made it her point every day to go to the mailbox at the same time he was out there, because he was always there at the same time of day. And she would say hi to him. And for months and months, he never responded. And then finally he started responding. And it might take a little effort. It's not always like the easiest thing to do. But compassion, it's a heart attitude. And we need to pray for that heart attitude. And you can look up verses that help you to learn that and that just speak to you. And here's some things you could try to do. You can pray for a person to assist, or maybe you know people. I think of people like single parents who need time away to maybe go do errands or go to the store, or maybe they need financial help, or they need a faucet fixed, or just someone to watch the kids while they go to the movies with a friend or something. There's just all sorts of things like that. Or college kids. College kids are always needy. And instead of just always giving them money, maybe you have a chore. Like I've had girls come when I hosted a dinner party, and they came and they did dishes and they helped serve food and that kind of thing. But, you know, it was something that they were learning to do. Or I've had people work in my yard a little bit to earn money or whatever. And then they don't feel like it's just a handout, because it's how you go about it also. But, you know, just finding a way, or, you know, older people. A lot of older people can't do certain chores, or even when you're scooping your walk from snow, you could do your neighbor's walk. That is a great thing. In one of our older houses that we had a huge driveway and a lot of sidewalk. And I was ever so thankful when people came and did mine, and I would return the favor, and next time I would try to get out there and do theirs. And I think that's just being a good neighbor and looking for ways to do that, whether it's raking leaves or scooping snow or watering their potted plants when they're on a trip or something. It's just ways that we can help our neighbor. 1 John 3:17 says, "But whoever has the world's goods and beholds his brother in need and closes his heart against him, how does the love of God abide in him?" Isn't that baffling? If we really love God and we're just like angry about people out there that we don't know and we don't understand, how is that going to show anybody else that we love God? He's all about love. So I think we need to be a good testimony to those around us. We need to go the extra mile and try to think of things. Today, my daughter Jessica and I sat and worked on the calendar, finished it up for the 30-day challenge that we have coming in January. And then my husband has put it into a calendar form for me. And I have to say, we kind of backed off a little to make not all the days challenging, really too challenging. Some of them are tougher than others, but I am really excited about this. And I would love to hear the things that you do that are on the list. Now, there might be days where you don't get to it, or maybe you do 2 in one day. And I'm going to be doing it along with you. But we really worked on this And on the 28th, which is coming up, we will have that ready for you. So you can have that and make a copy of it if you want. And you can just mark off the things that you do and let us know so that we could maybe post on our Live Boldly group, and then others could say, oh yeah, I'd like to do that too. And so I'm really excited for that. And the other thing is so that we get more and more people rather than my group of friends and my friends' friends, which kind of all have the same friends. But if all of you would invite at least 10 people to join our group, then we'd be able to reach more people. That'd be awesome, because I have a very limited number of people that I know, and I want to share this with everyone. And, you know, not just Deuteronomy, but this book, it is my lifeblood. And studying it is what gives me the greatest inner peace and joy. And so I hope that if you haven't read your Old Testament for a while, that you can work in it and study it and learn more about who God is and how He's holy. And then this week, I hope that you're able to think about who you can reach out to and help. And maybe it's just your next door neighbor. Maybe it's a family member that doesn't really want to get together with anybody anymore, and you just give them a call, and that just makes their day. Or maybe it's someone from your church who just needs a friend. And we have people at our church who take meals to this single older man every week. It is just amazing how long they've been doing this, and it's just wonderful. And it's a sacrifice to them. They have busy lives, and they have a lot. They're both really busy women and have things that are difficult in their own life going on, but they always take time to do that, and they don't miss. And it's so encouraging to me. So when you do some of these things, please post it in our group so that we can see that and we can use your idea, which would be great. Anyway, well, I'll talk to you next week with a chart for January, and just have a great week. God bless.